Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Ask the Accountant. It is Monday, the 29th of January. 2 more days, folks. 2 more days, and then the stress and the hassle is over. So, as always, joined here today by my co-host, Mr. Aaron Patrick. Aaron, how are you? How was your weekend? Did you see anything other than tax returns? Did you do anything normal?
No, I didn't. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to be absolutely honest with everyone. I just survived this weekend by, I've spent all of Sunday pretty much. We took the dog out for a walk, got back at what, 10ish, 10:30, and I sat there and I just 11:30 thought time to go to bed. So that's my Sunday, and Saturday was relatively similar, although I had a bit more. I stopped a bit more reasonable time then, but yeah, survival mode, isn't it? And like you said, we've got 1 day, 16 hours, 25 minutes to go, and that's all thanks to Client Engager giving me that wonderful insight that keeps me awake at night. So
yeah, it gets a bit much when you get close to the deadline. I'll be honest with you, Aaron, I only did one tax return this weekend, and that was my mate's. Well, I was out drinking whiskey with him. So
really,
I've got an old friend who technically was my old boss, actually, years and years ago. Needs a tax return. Is the only time I hear from him. We have an annual catch up, put the world to right, have dinner, a few beers, and normally a whiskey to finish off. And in the process of that, I will then do his tax return for him.
yeah.
But yeah, so no, it was a very good weekend for me. Needed the R&R just to break away because next 3 days are just going to be full on. So we've got 62 tax returns outstanding at the moment at On Point Accounting, but 62 yet to be filed. So a third of those are sat waiting to be signed by clients. A third of them haven't come back to us. They're complete no communication. So they've had phone calls, they've had emails, they've been chased and chased. So we put on all the emails last week. If we don't hear by you by 5 o'clock Friday, but kind of gave them the weekend, then we'll just remove you from our system because we're going on the assumption you've done it yourself or you don't want us involved anymore. And that always happens every year with these annual clients that literally all they do is they come in, get a tax return, pay their invoice and disappear again for another year. So yeah, it's not unusual. It's fine. And the other 22 that are yet to be kind of done anything with are actually, they're all in progress, waiting on queries. Stuff came in over the weekend for us to action. So I feel in control. So far, I've not worked any weekends apart from that 10-minute one over this weekend.
Does that count? Does that count? No, really? Come on.
Not when you had the amount of beer and whiskey I'd had, so we can't count that. But I've only worked one evening towards this tax return so far. So we're on top of it. We're getting there, which is good. It's nice. But hey ho, everybody else, welcome. Everyone's saying hello in the comments. We'll go through that. If you guys want to update us on where you are with your tax returns, let us know and we will share it with the world. Let's celebrate your progress or encourage you for the last 2 days of pushing through it. So, as always, good morning to Paul. Good to see you here. Final few days upon us. Yep. Hopefully, Paul, you've had a bit of progress because last week you were chasing a lot of clients still, from what I remember. Good morning, Dave. How are you? Good morning to Kirsty, and good morning to Paul, and good morning to Louise. Paul says a client knocked on my door Saturday afternoon, armed with an envelope full of receipts. What a delight!
I've designed. I've got it quite set up now, where downstairs, literally next to the downstairs door, is a scanner. So as soon as that happens, you go in, scan it straight through. Let AI do the rest. No,
how many clients know where your front door is?
It's Apple Core ones. So yeah, the Topics ones I've got a clue, but yeah, the Apple Core ones, it's turn up like Dave, like Paul said just then. So yeah, so now I just scan them all in and hope for the best.
Yeah, no problems. Good. Right, Leanne Copper, straight in with a question from Leanne. Love it.
Hello.
Question for you, Aaron. Hi, Aaron. I started my business end of last year and signed up to QuickBooks Self-Employed. I saw in your video, though, with Jean-Luc. So, of course, you were busy. spreading the love on other channels. Shall we say?
3 different ones this week, but yeah, carry on.
Christ, no, when you've not got any tax returns done, you're too busy being a celebrity. You said that it's not really designed for resellers, and I completely agree with you there. What version of QB would you recommend?
So first of all, I probably am the only accountant on the planet who still fights and supports QuickBooks Self-Employed. I think it has a place.
I think it's got a place. I've got no issue with it. It's just knowing its limitations.
Exactly. You are completely right though, Leanne. It is not designed for the resale. And the reason for that is there's just so many transactions. And as we spoke on there as well, the most complicated thing for any reseller, anyone out there selling on any platforms, is that grossing up of income. So you may receive 80 quid in the bank account, but actually you've sold 100 and you've got to account for the difference. So my recommendation is to jump on Simple Start or Essentials or go for there. Those two are the ones I would definitely start out with. Both of them will give you more control over having so much data flowing in, because you can have all those transactions. And the biggest advantage is you can connect directly to QuickBooks. So go over to the App Store, connect to QuickBooks, go from there. Also, Can's going to hate me for saying this, but go over to the QuickBooks website now, get yourself signed up before the 31st of January. They are doing an amazing offer. It's 90% off for the full year. I think let me quickly tell you, you can get yourself Simple Start or Essentials. I would grab Essentials on that deal because you can always downgrade later. It'll cost you £30 and 20p for the whole year. So grab it. Absolutely brilliant. And yeah.
I don't see why accountants are getting shirty about this. Like,
I don't.
The markup for accountants is limited at best. So actually, accountants, bookkeepers, let your clients go and sign up to QuickBooks and save themselves a little bit of money for the first year. And once that deal comes
with the product, they'll start using it more. They won't be using it begrudgingly. They've picked it themselves. They're gonna be starting to use it. It is a win-win for everyone, in my opinion.
Yeah. So they sign up. At the end of the year, once that deal comes to an end, you help them through transferring the pricing to you, and then you give them the whatever price you do for them on your licenses.
Exactly.
Everybody's a winner in this situation. So yeah, there we go. Simple Start or Essentials. But why Essentials is so cheap, let's get that for a year.
I would do. I mean, there's not major benefits for you as a accountant, for you as a reseller, sorry. But it's still, you'll get some extra bells and whistles, and might as well use them manually while it's there. So yeah, grab it, get that deal, and promise you it looks good. And there's a couple of videos on my channel that'll help you as well. So cheers, Leanne. Thanks for the question.
Yeah, fantastic start to the day. Right, good morning. Sorry, I'm terrible with names. I know this lady. She's a client engager user. She's absolutely lovely. Linda, I'm so sorry. I've just butchered that. But all of her tax returns are drafted and awaiting some final queries and signatures.
And that is something to celebrate, though. Yeah,
well done there. In fact, well, round of applause. And apologies for messing up your name there.
One sec. We can go one. If we just gives me 2 seconds. This is how quick and thing it is. We can do this as well. No, wrong one. That's what I wanted. There we are.
Not digital accountancy show.
Exactly.
You lasers. Right. Good morning, Victoria. Good morning, Natasha. Good morning, everybody. Jennifer. Signed up. Oh my goodness. Got all the questions coming in for Aaron this morning. Aaron, your 3 days of being popular and a celebrity are paying off here. I've signed up for QuickBooks Self-Employed for the future, and I've linked the bank account and intend to backdate. Good start. But going back more than 3 months, the bank account shows transactions, but not amount. That's more likely to do with the bank itself than it is QuickBooks, because the banks control what QuickBooks can and can't see. Most banks don't go anywhere past 3 months. They just give you 3 months worth of historic data. If you're lucky, some don't even give you that, do they? They just make you go forwards.
Exactly.
So a bit of a manual job for you then, Jennifer, I'm afraid. Any top tips, Aaron?
It's get into that bank account, download the CSV file, find out what dates you need, and go from there. Each bank's going to be different, but yeah, you're just going to have to manually go backwards, I'm afraid, and grab that data and put it through. Especially at QuickBooks Self-Employed, it's really simple just to re-upload the data and just get that data back in there manually. That's all you can do on that one. Got a video on how to do it, so have a look at the channel and get that through. But yeah, get the data manually backed up and you'll be absolutely flying going forward. So well done getting QuickBooks Self-Employed. Love it.
Brilliant. Yeah.
And
Leander. There we go.
yeah.
Now I know. And I'll forget within minutes, unfortunately. I'm
how do we
shouting names.
how do we
It's really
pin this so that it's there forever?
but yeah, right. Okay. Yeah. Self-assessments. So we all know where I'm up to. Aaron, you're just working. It's not even overtime now. You're just working, aren't you? Like,
yeah, it's my own fault though. Like the Boffic side of things, mainly fine. I did the cardinal sin of saying I'll take on all the new ones that come through the door because the team's got a bit of pressure at the moment. So that's given me a little bit of a headache, and that's one of the reasons why I've been doing it, because we've had quite a few late inquiries, which is good. I've just got to learn. I mean, I like the Apicore ones. I've got to make a decision of what I'm doing going forward with it. Yeah, it's. I mean, one of my clients, this one. I mean, he's got 7 different QuickBooks licenses floating around. He keeps his spreadsheet up to date that could see better days if you ask me. You know, he's MTD ITSA this year, so we've got that added complication. Obviously, he's one of the ones where we're trying to import the data directly from HMRC and it failed. Do you know what I mean? It just nightmare client, absolute nightmare. His name, Aaron Patrick. So if you see him out there, do not take him on as a client. Absolute nightmare. Yeah.
oh dear.
Yeah, there's been those sort of clients at this weekend. So, which is actually early for me. I normally have that thing where I won't file my own tax return until everyone else is in. You know, I'm on the battlefield with them and everything else. And then this year, I just got to the point where I was like, look, if I don't file it now, it ain't going in. So,
oh dear. Yeah, no, it's. I don't. Are you finding clients are going back to pre-COVID attitudes and behaviours? So, like during COVID, because self-employed income support and stuff was coming through, it meant they wanted their tax returns done as soon as possible because that was the information they needed to base their claims for the grants on. And that kind of carried on for a little bit. And then, so like for the first couple of years, you got self-employed grants encouraging people to get it done early.
Yeah.
Then, because people had a poorer year than previous years, there was refunds at stake. So we'll have that. We'll get them in nice and early. But now everyone's got back to that pain point of having to go back onto payments in advance and stuff like that. They're all kind of going, head in the sand, pretend it's not there. Like, which is exactly where we were before COVID. But it feels like this is the hardest we've had to work to encourage clients to do what they need to do for a long time, because the clients are scared of the tax bills that are coming up.
Yeah. I think as well, I mean, some of it is, you know, as an accountant, we've both moved on from what we were, 4 years ago, where we had the capacity that if a client came along and the books weren't perfect, but we could just take them on, and they may not have quote unquote paid for a cleanup or anything, but you know, goodwill and everything, you were just gonna get them done. Unfortunately, at this point, I'm just not got the capacity to do it. So I've had to push back onto a lot of clients and say, look, we can do it, but there's a price and there's a queue and, you know, and everything else. And I think that's something we've got to take on the chin, isn't it? It's part of growth, isn't it? Like, we can't be that, you know, hands-on with every single client that we used to be. We've got to accept that sometimes we've just got to find ways to be, you know, approachable for clients. And I think that's been a hard pill to swallow for some clients from our point of view as well.
And some clients will pay it though. So like we had a client just like that. So we said to this client back in March, we are not going to, because it was a client with a partnership tax return, 3 partners, so personal tax returns, and their books were horrific. It was a spreadsheet. They kept swapping between cash and accounting accruals. Then they went VAT registered. It's like, and they just came to us once a year, and we kept looking at it. It's like, this is ridiculous. This is ridiculous. We're not charging enough, but it's okay. We've got space. We'll do it. We turned around to the client in March and said, look, we're not doing it anymore. Like, either we take on the full package and you pay monthly and you stop doing it yourself and making a mess, or you find another provider. They came back to us 3 weeks ago, having gone incognito, and said, oh, we need you to do it. So we said, well, it's 3 weeks. So we went and we looked at what we priced them for monthly services going backwards to do all the bookkeeping stuff, because we knew we were going to have to redo it all. and we charged them the full amount. So they've gone from a £500 a year client to a £2,500 a year client. And we said, look, it's this fee. And then you're going to pay us another £2,500 in April to ready for the 23 to 24 one. And then you're going to go on to monthly, thinking no, we'll never hear from them. They won't see them through the dust. Within 24 hours, signed up, money was in the bank. Crack on, please. And it's like, okay, maybe they will pay it. And we had it done in a few days. It wasn't a huge issue, but the whole team felt better and less begrudging about doing it because they knew we'd been compensated for it properly this time.
Yeah. And you've got confidence in a firm as well that you can like justify that service now, right?
Yeah.
Whereas when you first started out, the danger is you'll be like, you know, I don't want to upset them, and you maybe, you know, and there's that really fine line, isn't it? I think we've all learned. Well, I've certainly learned a massive lesson in the last couple of years about that one, and I think that pushback. And I think, spoiler alert too, if you've listened to QuickBooks Labs that we did on Wednesday, but one of the things I said as a prediction or a wish list, and I think this would help massively for this, is if QuickBooks Zero, whoever, can start really looking into that client and accountant relationship and give us an opportunity to, you know, have this special way where we can put checklists or tick lists or whatever for clients so that they know if they're things. I think that's what we need at this point. No, I think this is definitely, we're showing more and more that we want everyone on these digital platforms and we want everyone doing it. But if they want an accountant, we need to be able to go and say, look, this is a acceptable set of books and this is not acceptable, and you know, we can help you either way, but there's a fee structure regarding which side of the fence you're on, and to help you to get onto the right side of the fee structure, this is what we need from you. And I think we need a way of having that built into the software, right? So that the clients can be like, you know what, I can get this done. I'm fully capable of doing it, and I do it, and this is what I need to do. Tick, 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 done. Or that's out of my remit. I know I've got to find someone who can support me on that, and they can look at options. It gives them that confidence, right? Because so many times clients have said, oh, well, I thought it was right. Like I've been using those numbers and I felt confident with them. And and
if that was an active score on their dashboard throughout the year, and they're like 3 months in, it's like, it's still poor, but I don't understand. Right. It's the catalyst to speak to someone then, not 12 months later and go, oh, I didn't realize I was doing it wrong. And now we've got to unpick it. So I like that.
When they're not VAT registered and they don't really look at the numbers properly, you know, till annually. Hopefully we encourage them to keep an eye on them and use some of the numbers. But
and yes, there are tools out there that will help do health scores, but they're not client facing necessarily, and they're not in live and in product, which is what we would like to see. So
and they're really complicated for an average client, right? They're designed for accountants who understand the numbers, understand the ratios, etc. Just need that really friendly. And I think someone like QuickBooks, like that's what they thrive at, right? It's that client facing, making it easy for the client to use. So I really hope this is a year where that starts to become a fruition, because I genuinely believe that will make our lives so much easier if we can just have that black and white. It's done. The amount of times that I send over a screenshot of like the QuickBooks overview page and say, look, this is what we see, this is what we need to have done, and like highlight the areas for them, and they go, oh, I didn't even know I needed, you know what I mean? It's that light bulb moment. So just showing them that,
educating them as they go.
Exactly.
So brilliant. Okay, so Jennifer says, thank you guys for your answer about self-employed. No problems, Jennifer. Leander, do you think MTD will make a difference? There seems to be a split in the industry as to whether MTD will help clients get more organized. Well,
segue.
What a fantastic segue. Aaron, I believe you've been playing with MTD Itza again.
Is Leander now the third host? Is that what we're going to say?
Well, she can do a better segue than you can. So, Aaron, how was your experience with MTD Itza beta testing?
So this is my first year of having to complete it in terms of being on the program and getting the tax return. Again, I should have done this sooner, but I've got that being the bonnet of me wanting to make sure that I'm always last to get it filed. I want to make sure everyone else is over the line before I jump in. So my experience this time around, actually filing the quarterly updates, as everyone can expect, pretty straightforward. You know, I've been using QuickBooks on their beta program. Their solution was nice. It was very much a case of, you know, holding my hand, very visual, you know, looked very straightforward. There was quite a few reminders going out there, and it was quite straightforward to do. So actually getting those monthly quarterly submissions, a dream and a doddle. And I think to your point there, Leander, like, yeah, will it make a difference? Definitely. It's going to encourage people to look at that information more often, just like we've just said about having, you know, instead of annual, it's going to be quarterly. So that should help. I'll be completely honest with you. The first two, I 100% made sure was absolutely right. I was very, you know, ticking all the boxes, making sure, doing a lot of work with it and everything else. The third one failed, and there was some issues back and forth with HMRC, but that was a good experience as well because got to see how that one. And the fourth one, I was very much like, you know what, I just submit what's there, see what happens. Like what does happen, you know what I mean, if you just send it over. So I kind of got that full breadth of it. Now the disappointing bit though was late last night when it was time to do my own tax return. It would have been really useful for me to find out what was submitted, right, so that I could compare, contrast, and go through from there. QuickBooks hasn't built that feature. Why would they? Like that, we've had this conversation many a time that they've been like all FMS solutions out there have been burnt by MTD. Like they've plowed in a massive amount of investment. They've built all these functionalities and they've started to do this. And then MTD's, as we've all seen, has become a bit of a, you know, bit of a problem area. I was about to say something very
money pit.
Yeah. But you would expect then to just jump on HMRC's thing, especially with it being me, so I can see it from the accountant's point of view. Go through the agent services one, go through there, type in all my credentials, go into there, I can see what's there, and then I can go in as me as well. Go into my own client portal, go through there and over there. So QuickBooks, in fairness, haven't built it, but that I don't blame them for that. But that's not there, and I imagine at some point there would be a historical view or something. Yeah.
In the same way there already is for VAT, that
exactly.
you can see
Look back at historical ones.
Yeah.
Exactly. At the moment, the timeline just says if it's submitted or not, and that's all it kind of gives you, right? And in fairness, I could always run a P&L and hope that there's changes, right? There is that there. HMRC back end, nothing. Doesn't tell you a single thing about what figures, just the fact that it has been submitted or it hasn't. And then in mine as well, which is, you know, good experience, but I've got rental and I've got quote unquote consultancy as well, which is my self-employed element. I've got both of those, and it was kind of mixing up of which one's there and which is there. So, you know, in an ideal world, when we looked at what MTD was, and like we've got the comment here, like, you know, do you think will make a difference? You know, from those looking into it of what the potential could be, of course it's going to make a difference. Of course this is going to be a big thumbs up for accountants. You know, we've got this data flowing in on a quarterly basis and not having to look back at it historically and all this and the other. But as it stands at the moment, actually it's far harder for me to figure out what was me, because if this was just me having to do the annual set of accounts, I would have gone through, looked at the annual, cleaned it all up, and I know I'd be confident in what I'm about to submit, right? I could do all my checks, go through all that. I'd have been confident. I was, this is me, right? I know it inside out of what's there because it was literally me, and not, this isn't the client I don't know. I was second guessing myself to press submit because I'm like, oh, but I was playing around with MTD and I was trying to create a loss at a certain point, and you know, and there was that stage where it failed, so I didn't know what was gonna, and I was constantly second guessing what it is, because now I'm in the back of my mind, I'm like, well, grand scheme thing doesn't matter, but in my mind I'm like, if I don't submit what was there, then I'm obviously going to have an issue with this. Now in the final set of MTD, then the idea would be that you can kind of pull that data in, is what I imagine they want us to be able to do, and that final submission will be a case of you've already submitted 4 quarters, here's your final one, do you want to make any changes, sort of idea. But actually that way does make it a little bit more messy, because then do I go back and do a full set of accounts? Do I really polish it up like I would do and make sure it's right? And then do I post an adjustment to those accounts and put it through from there? And if so, I've got to go back to the software where I did the original submissions. I can't do the, you know, I can't just do and yeah. So all I'm saying is it's in when I first heard of MTD and I first thought about it through, I'm still pro the idea of a more streamlined way of doing tax returns, and hopefully a way where people can actually do their own more confidently and comfortable, because they're being, their hands are being held by the software providers to make sure it's right. And we've talked about how they could do the VAT error checker as a MTD error checker and all that sort of stuff. So I'm still all that positivity. But yeah, doing it my first time and going through all that and having to juggle what was submitted versus what isn't, and how do I get the two compared? And yeah, it was a lot more moving parts that I hadn't really thought about. And again, that was me submitting my own MTD, and I had issues on being confident that everything was exactly how it should have been. And I feel like if I'm having problems at that stage, you times that by your number of clients, you times that by some of the more, clients that you don't have that relationship with maybe, and you only see once a year or whatever it's going to be. I feel like there's going to be a lot of headache in that first year that it moves over. So yeah, a lot of this can be fixed. A lot of this is software related, and QuickBooks backend actually doing what HMRC's backend doing what it actually should do from day one, and giving us the tools we need as accountants to help. But as it stands, yeah, it was a bit of a nightmare. If I'm being brutally honest.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the industry is saying, "Oh, the clients won't like it. The clients won't like it." It's like, get over it. Ultimately, HMRC don't care what the clients do and don't like. HMRC are wanting this information. Clients don't like when they have to go VAT registered. Clients don't like they have to file quarterly VAT returns. Like, there's a lot of things clients don't like that HMRC insist on. Whether they're going to like MTD ITSA or not is neither here nor there. This is the law. This is what's coming in. We need to facilitate that. Or the clients need to facilitate it themselves. And if they keep getting late, they're going to get penalties. So they're going to be, clients don't like doing an annual self-assessment tax return. So I think you just take the disorganization that's there now and times it by 4. Like, the thing is, it's not as much whether clients like it or not, as it is we need to make sure we're educating clients. These are the new rules, full stop. Like, clients weren't going to like using software to file VAT. Like, how many times do you hear that anymore?
Very true. Very true.
Like, it's how it works. This is what the rules are. They don't resist it. They just go, fine, okay. Yeah. What are my options?
Same with real-time information for payroll, wasn't it? It was clients won't do this, client won't do that, but yeah,
they're doing it.
Accept it, don't they? Because no choice. Yeah, but I think from an accountant's point of view, though, we keep looking and we want it to be. I think maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm being naive about it, but I'm there with MTG. Just looking at the positives, going, you know what? Yes, increased workload, but we've got great software like Client Engager and items like that to help us, look at that and manage that. But what I didn't really think about was that idea that instead of us as accountants having that blank slate that we have and we've had for years, where that's why we've been engaged with the client for, that's what they've chosen us, because they don't want to go through that rigmarole of putting together a tax return or a set of accounts, whatever it's going to be. That we don't have that blank slate actually could be a hindrance, and I've not really considered that. It's because you're going to want to at least be in line with what those quarterly submissions were. And if you don't know what those quarterly submissions are, it might cause us a few headaches going forward.
Yeah. Leander's just said in here that I'm intrigued as to how this will work, where we have partnerships between bookkeepers and accountants, where accountants do year end only. HMRC are going to struggle with queries again. Yeah, and we need, as an industry, but also on an individual basis, we need to work out where we're comfortable with. So if you're a bookkeeper that doesn't do self-assessment tax returns, and many don't, that's fine, because the accountants do it for them. However, is the bookkeeper going to be confident enough to do the quarterly returns? Or does the accountant now need to be involved 4 times a year instead of once a year? But I think that's going to be individual by individual basis, because there's if a bookkeeper we're working with is happy doing quarterly returns, and then we're putting in the final one that does all the adjustments and stuff, and all the other information that we don't capture on a quarterly basis, then fine. And ultimately, from what my understanding of listening to HMRC on this is, if you file stuff every quarter, and then your overall tax return that comes in at the end, because you're still doing an SA 100 at the end, that the quarterly ones are just guiding HMRC on what to expect. The end one is the final one. So if there's a difference and it doesn't add up, unless it's stupidly different, it's not going to be the end of the world, because we're not paying our self-assessment tax quarterly because of these filings.
Yeah.
It's just providing information to HMRC.
Yeah,
I should say it's not yet.
Yeah,
but
you can tell that's where they want to go. Even the back end of some of it is all geared towards payments and quarterly payments.
But if you ask me to try and tell a client, if a client comes to me, am I going to have a more painful conversation trying to explain what payments in advance are and why it screws their cash flow, but it helps HMRC and it helps them out in the long run? Or do I turn around and say, right, you're paying quarterly? Which one's going to be easier for the average client to understand the justification of?
Yeah.
Right. I'm going to have a lot less painful conversations about payments on advance, which is what I seem to spend my days doing at the moment. So yeah, like, I'm not worried about that final submission, because HMRC have said these are guidance, and then your final one tidies it up and brings it all together, and that comes up with the final tax bill, because quarterly we're only looking at this rental income, or we're only looking at this self-assessment, this sole trader. We're not looking at all your dividends. We're not looking at your capital gains. We're not looking at pensions. We're not looking at payroll income. And until they look at all of that, they can't bill quarterly, because it's not a true reflection.
They get away with it in capital gains real time, though, don't they?
Well,
even though they don't have all the information. Do you know what I mean? I feel like they're gearing up to find ways so that because that's ultimately
I'm sure they are.
Yeah.
And that's why we've got real-time payroll information going in, so they can assess that against quarterly VAT, quarterly self-assessments. But yeah, so at the moment, I'm not worried about that bit. The relationship between clients deciding whether they're going to do quarterly filings themselves by pressing a button in a software, because HMRC have said there's no penalties for it being wrong as such.
Mine were wrong.
There's no bills to pay because of these submissions. So the client's like, well, actually, all I have to do is press submit. So the HMRC get a snapshot right at that moment in time. And then we file an SA 100 as we normally would, using all the information for that year. And in theory, the client's had a snapshot of what to save each quarter towards that. And if that then comes back as less, we look good, don't we? Like, I think there's a lot of benefits to this. I think it could really help get rid of some of our headaches, like payments and advance explanations and stuff. I think it could help clients budget better and end up with a little slush fund. Like the CIS clients out there, they love doing their self-assessment because they 9 out of 10 times get a refund. And they're like, yeah, that's my holiday pot. If I get this done in April, I'll have the money to pay for a summer holiday. That's my savings. It's like, fine, okay, great. But yeah, it's going to be interesting how accountants and bookkeepers start working together on this. And I think, like we do today, some bookkeepers do self-assessments, some don't. I think we're going to see exactly the same thing of, some bookkeepers will do the quarterlies, but not the annuals. Some bookkeepers will do the quarterlies, the annuals, and that's all based off what the accountant's doing for the limited company accounts or whatever it is. There's going to be a whole blend of approaches, I think. And it's just down to us to work out what's right for us as individuals and our practices and go from there.
Yeah. I do think, though, going back to what we talked about last time, actually the bookkeeper will probably be in a better position to do the quarterly. Like they all know more than the accountant. And actually, if I think about it, what can the accountant bring to the table at that quarterly?
At that point, they can't.
Not really.
Because there's no tax efficiencies or anything like that to be declared. All you're doing is going, that's the P&L. Done. I I'm not one for qualifications and governing bodies and stuff, but I really hope governing bodies don't ban bookkeepers from doing the quarterly returns just because they've not done a certification or something in it.
Yeah, they can't do that because otherwise you're banning clients from doing it.
But that's the problem, though, is that certain bookkeeping governing bodies will not let you file tax returns if you've not done their certification in it, even though it's a self-assessment tax return that a client can do themselves in law.
Okay.
Like they just like they won't let you do it. Like if you're a level 2 AAT, you can't file a set of accounts on behalf of your client, even though by law they could go and do it themselves. So I think governing bodies need to be careful not to disenfranchise their clients, upset their own members by saying, "Oh no, you've not done our certificate in quarterly filing of tax returns." It's like what, pressing a button like a client can do that, and that's the biggest challenge with a lot of governing bodies is they try to control too much. And I'm with AML. My AML is with HMRC. I've not been with a governing body for 5 years because they kept trying to tell me what I can and can't do in my business, regardless of knowledge and experience within my team, because I didn't have that knowledge and experience. But my team does. I've recruited people to do that service for that purpose. Why should that? Because it's not all on me. As a leader of a business, you shouldn't be involved in the macro stuff anyway. So yeah, I think governing bodies could make headaches for bookkeepers and accountants here unnecessarily. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting couple of years to see how everyone handles it. And I think proactively governing bodies should be out there now saying, this is how we're going to deal with this.
Yeah.
Is there a qualification? Is there not? If there is, let's get this launched now so you can actually get it all set up ready before MTD comes in. Because you've got enough of a job on your hands explaining to clients before it comes live. Never mind trying to do that and certifications and stuff like that.
The problem is, and we've had the conversations at QuickBooks training, like TWN, like when do we do an MTD certification, or and it will just be a badge, right? Like that's what we're aiming for. But
yeah, like QuickBooks and Xero had their MTD certification process when that came out.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It is just basically, can you use the software? Can you? Well, the problem is the goalposts are moving so much. What do you do a qualification on now? Like, it's so tricky because HMRC still haven't been very upfront about what's going to be released at when. It's still this wishy-washy. Well, we're going to aim for this date, and it's going to be for this, and it will be for this threshold, subject to change. Basically, there's little asterisks on every little thing that's been announced, right? And I feel like that's the problem. Like, you can't run a qualification yet or do some sort of certification.
No, but you can state how you're going to process and whether you're going to subject your members to another qualification for it.
Agreed.
As a standard principle.
Yeah. But I feel like HMRC need to just knuckle down on this is what's going to release, this is when, so we can start preparing for it. At the moment, and like we said at the very beginning of the show, like the software providers are burnt now. They're going to sit there going, am I really going to like put any more resources into this solution that's probably going to be delayed again, probably going to have the thresholds upped again? Do you know what I mean? Like, I feel like that's where HMRC dropped the ball, and they were too cautious on it all. If they've already if they had, at this point, had already committed that next year there'll be this, sole trader only option with everyone's got to submit, and it's kind of almost like an advanced pilot. Fair enough. Like everyone can get on board with that. But the fact that there's been so many like changes to the system already, I don't know. I feel like that's where the problem lies.
Yeah. No. It's like Paul says, single access to MTD was one of the main reasons they had to U-turn and delay it by 2 years. Yeah. The people at head office of HMRC and their software developers hadn't comprehended the idea that 2 agents might be involved in a process. Now that has been, HMRC have accepted that now, and they are working on the solution for that now. They've said that's one of their biggest learnings so far, and it's one that they think they've got a solution for. They're just building it, is my understanding.
But they've still not fixed the whole idea of just having a client list. Like,
no,
it's ludicrous, isn't it? It's this whole idea that to get access, like me yesterday, to get access to my own, okay, I'm a client of my own firm, so it's a weird setup anyway, right? But for me to have access to me, it wasn't sign into my ASA portal, go to my client list, find my name, and go from there. Oh no, 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 no. I had to sign into my portal, go through the rigmarole of finding my UTR number on a different platform, copy that UTR number into HMRC to gain access, and then answer a load of questions about myself. I'm like, well, you know what I mean? Like, I'm already 64 rated at this point. There should just be an opportunity for me to click, 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 and go.
Yeah.
Yeah, just ludicrous, isn't it? It just, that whole process, and then there was still data missing, but that's fine, right? They'll figure that. But until they even do the process of getting access to my client, so I even know who's on my 64. No, at the moment, the only way I can do it, I know there's potential for API links and all that sort of stuff, which sound amazing and yeah, lovely. But at the moment, if I wanted to see who I'm 64 rated as a thing, I'd have to go through, copy, and try and go and access each one of my clients and go through that rigmarole of each one and little tick box. Yeah, just doesn't seem to work at the moment, does it?
Yeah, not for masses. Paul says his personal view on MTD it's just a tick box exercise to prove to HMRC you're keeping digital records. The data it's sending is currently irrelevant because they don't use it for any purpose. Yeah, completely.
We can't even see what's been submitted.
And Victoria says they'd be stupid if there aren't enough of us. So I think that's in reference to governing bodies insisting on who will and won't be able to do this based on their own certifications. Yeah, like, I mean, ultimately, if your governing body starts being punitive with what you can and can't do, that gives you your competitors an unfair advantage. Like, I'm not with a governing body, so I've got an unfair advantage. That technically, I can go out and deliver any service that me or my team want to deliver without checking with them it's okay and have I got the right qualifications, blah blah blah. As long as me and my team are confident we can do it and we're in the realms of our practice indemnity insurance, we're fine. So actually governing bodies mandating what you can and can't do at a level of something that a client can go and do themselves, like anything over the audit threshold, completely understand mandating what you can and can't do based on your qualifications and stuff, because the clients can't do it either. They can't audit their own accounts and stuff. Anything below that, governing bodies are giving non-governed people an unfair advantage by mandating what you can and can't do. And they've not quite grasped that. They see it as, oh, we're making it prestigious and stuff. It's like, no, you're just giving everyone else an unfair advantage. So why would you be with a governing body when they're giving you an unfair disadvantage?
Yeah, agreed.
Is my thoughts. Like, yeah, as you all know by now, I'm not a fan of governing bodies. I think they're a waste of time and money. But never mind. But if they modernised, they could be incredible support bodies. Like, governing bodies could be incredible support resources and help you thrive your business no end if they actually modernised and got with the real world. If my client, who's never done any training or qualification whatsoever and is running his own business, can go and file his own self-assessment tax return, why can't you? When you've got experience and you've got knowledge, you've just not done a governing bodies exam. So anyway, soapbox moment over, folks. Okay, so speaking of new things, we've been playing with some new toys and looking at new toys, haven't we, Aaron, over the last few months, shall we say? And we're not going to name any names because that's not fair. But there's some new boys in the area, in this software world of accounting, and their solutions are going to be incredible. Like, absolutely phenomenal. They're going to improve communication, automation, etc. But they seem to have lost focus on the onboarding part. So I've been trying to get on board to a new tool since December. November. We still haven't implemented it in our firm because some of the onboarding pain was because of you have to get authorized to link certain things by people like Meta and WhatsApp and stuff like that. So I get that. That's out of the software provider's control. They've got to follow the rules. But then just importing all the clients into it was an absolute and utter nightmare, to the point that actually we're just probably going to go and do it manually when time allows. But actually, most of my team are now disenchanted with it and going, it might be great once we get up and running, but that pain point of getting up and running is not worth it at the moment. And we've seen it a few times, like with AI tools or bots, as it's called, robots, as it were, that will go through your Dex auto entry, etc., and process and categorize receipts for you. And they'll go into Xero, QuickBooks, and Sage and Free Agent and go, oh, that's a match, that's not a match. And they'll go through your banking transactions and start doing that. But you've got to teach it, which I would have no issues with. But the problem is, when they've launched the product, they've not launched the ability for you to teach it. Mm-hmm. You have to tell the software provider what you want to teach the robot, and then the robot, they go in and program it at a time that's convenient for them. Have I gone too far to automation and easy setup? Am I wrong or am I right, I suppose, is what I'm asking. Because at this moment in time, I can go and get any practice management tool I want, any FMS solution I want, any document processing solution I want, and I could be setting that up at midnight on a Sunday night, and I could be completely set up and running on my own account without any intervention from that software provider within minutes. There's no, oh, right, well, we'll schedule you in for a setup call or onboarding call and stuff. But should that be the process, or has my expectations changed because others are providing that, and actually in the majority of cases, no, it is normal to have to wait for them to onboard you? Does that make any kind of sense?
Yeah, and I think the pain point, you've already mentioned, it's all about pain points, right? And all of these software, the only reason they're going to get our attention in the first place is by going, oh, here's a pain point you've got, and here's a solution for that pain point, right? That's the fundamentals of selling any piece of software, isn't it? Or any solution, right? You've got a pain point and here's a solution for it. But you're right. We see that solution. We go, you know what? That's the pain point. I've been looking for a solution for that for years. This is one of the ones I'm really excited. And we get that buzz and we get that excitement. And then the onboarding doesn't quite go to plan. And I think a lot of that's to do with the fact that that's why we've been waiting years for that solution to come around, right? Because there are inherent roadblocks already there that are already stopping us. And this software has just gone, well, if we make the pain point solution sexy enough and attractive enough, then people will go through the rigmarole of signing up and taking 3 months and all this, that, and the other to on board and everything else. And I think ultimately that's not the case. No one, we're inherently lazy, aren't we, as software users? We want to have solutions that just we can pick up and put out, right? Especially when it comes to, yes, me and you figuring it out and going through the pain and everything else is one story, and we can kind of get our head around it. If we got to teach our staff, that's another big story. And if we got to teach our client, probably forget it at that point, right? Unless it's an absolute gold standard we must have, then yeah. I mean, how many times have we loved the idea of Cresco being in QuickBooks as a payment provider? Love that idea. Fantastic solution. It works brilliantly as for in the Xero world. But there's too many pain points and jumping through hoops and everything else for that to work, for actually to be viable, right? And even Client Engager came along and says, look, we've got a better solution. Here it is. Blah, 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 blah. Does it work as well as it should do? Not really. There's still, and that's not, Client Engager's not Cresco's fault, but that relationship still has a few hurdles to jump through, and there's a few times when it's not quite as smooth as it should be. And at any point in that whole process, if there's friction, it falls flat on its face, doesn't it?
Yeah. I'd be interested to hear our viewers' opinions on this. So my general rule of thumb now is, if your price isn't on the website, you're too expensive and you know it. So I just close the website window. Or if you won't let me set up my own account and get running with this, then you're too complex to set up. Like I was chatting to a working paper solution last year. They wouldn't let me have a demo account or a trial account or anything until I'd undergone their training. If your system needs training before you can even let someone start playing with it, then it's a dead end, in my view. Like I want to plug and go. I want that instantaneousness. Like I want to be able to go in and spend my Friday night sat in front of the telly teaching a bot the rules. Like, Dext, auto entry. When you go in, you've got to start teaching it the rules of the documents and what to do with it. I am more than happy to sit there with a beer, watching TV, doing that on a Friday night. So it's ready for the team on Monday. But when they turn around and say, oh, well, you can't, we've got to do that for you. Well, now I'm at the mercy of their timetable, which means it's not a quick and easy implementation. And so if there's others out there that will have that implementation, then they're going to start winning. So, yeah, it's really starting to frustrate me at the moment that there's some incredible looking tools that I can't implement because I can't be asked to wait for those people. Like, I want instant access. If you've not built instant access and a user interface that will allow you to teach stuff like Dex Commerce, I still have to wait for a meeting with someone to set up all the automations.
Really?
So you can do it all manually. Like you can set up the link between like QuickBooks and Amazon into Dex Commerce, and you can do them. Some of the you can start pushing transactions, but you can't set up the automations yourself. You have to have a scheduled Calendly call with someone at Dex Commerce to set up those automations because they've not built the user interface for you to do it yourself. How long has it been around for? Yeah. Like, it's meant to be saving us time. It's meant to be making us more efficient and adaptable. And the setup itself's not actually doing that yet. So yeah, just another soapbox moment. So Leander says it's frustrating when you submit a contact form and you get nothing. I'm waiting for online payroll provider to come back to me months after I initially sent the request. Highly recommended, but I'm almost out of patience. Yeah.
Yeah, but and that first exposure term's been negative, right, because of it.
But at the same time, could you go into that payroll provider online, set up your own account, and have a play with it without that first call with them? Like we get a lot of people with a client engager that will hold off doing anything until they've had a demo call. Well, you could be waiting 6 weeks for a demo call because we're that busy at the moment. But there's absolutely nothing stopping you from watching a 12-minute demo video and going and taking your trial out and getting on with it yourself and a bit of self-discovery. And that's what I want from any software I'm using. I don't want to have to wait for it to be demoed for me. I want to be able to go and actually the best demo for me personally and the way I work is one that I can play with myself.
Yeah.
So if that payroll software is not letting you even create an account until you've done a session with them, then it's probably because it's too complex or they've not built a user interface.
Yeah, or it's not cloud-based and it's telling you it's cloud-based because it says, oh, I'm a cloud-based provider, when actually it's a hosted platform that you do this and jump through this hoop and stand on your head, and then that's when it's accessible. So, yeah.
AJ says, rock and roll Friday nights at the Goree residence. Hey, I know how to have a good Friday night, me. Give the man a pint of beer and a TV program and his laptop and he's a happy boy.
Maybe it's time to start live streaming these events. You know what I mean? Like that could be
a Friday night.
Yeah.
Friday night show is
we're gonna try so and so software this week. Let's have a play.
Exactly.
Play along with me.
Paul says complexity really defeats the purpose of the solution, in my opinion. I need to have the confidence any staff member, new or old, can handle all the apps we use. Exactly. So I always go, I know I'm fairly tech savvy, but I know not all of my team are. So I always go in and go, right, if I can't sign up, test the system myself without being handheld by someone, then it's too complex because the rest of my team won't get it or aspects of my team won't get it. It has to be user-friendly from top down. And I think there's a lot of software vendors are missing that. I mean, even Dext How long's Dex owned Dex Commerce for? Greenback or
Greenback.
whatever it used to be called, and they still haven't built the ability for us to set up the automated transaction pushing ourselves. And when they then do a demo, when they then do the Calendly session with you, what they're doing isn't overly complex.
Just they're the only ones to have access to that back
A
end.
logical workflow would easily deal with it.
Yeah.
But they're the only ones with access because they've not built the UI for it. And how long have they had that for? It's got to be a priority. You've got to make onboarding nice and easy. So, yeah. Right. Fair enough. Cool. We are nearly out of time, folks. So we've actually got a couple of bits of stuff we'll go through next week, including new bits of kit. Aaron and I have been on a bit of a shopping spree between us. So watch out for new videos on new bits of kit that we'll be using going forwards. In fact, I'm going to be doing some everyday carry stuff. So I'm going to have my out for a couple of hours bag. I have my out for a couple of days bag.
Are they the same bag, or do you?
No, two different bags.
Totally different bags.
Oh yeah. I'm becoming more like pick up and go type thing.
Yeah.
And more setting my rules of, right, I'm just going to the cafe for a meeting with a client or something. This is all I need. I don't need to take my whole office in a bag. So, which is what I used to do. I literally everything went into the bag, and just in case I might need that.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah. So, but before we go, we're getting to the end of January, as we've discussed. I think there's no better way of celebrating the tax return period out there than meeting up with your peers, meeting up with your fellow bookkeepers and accountants, and sharing your war stories of 2023's and 24's tax return season. Sharing those stories of, you won't believe this idiot, or you won't believe this story, and oh, I had this happen, or actually this went really well for me. You should really check it out. So the first opportunity to really do that, in our opinion, and looking at the calendar of social events, is QuickBooks Get Connected London. So if you guys haven't booked in for your free place at QuickBooks Get Connected London, it's at the end of February. It's in London. It's going to be a fantastic event. Aaron and I will be there all day on a stand doing tips and tricks, showing you exactly how we're using different tools in the workplace on a day-to-day basis. So none of this sales team or tech team showing you this is how our feature works. We'll show you how it works, but we'll show you how it works in context of running your own firm.
Mm-hmm.
That is going to be a brilliant day. And it would be just great for you to go to some great sessions, pick up some ideas ready for 2024 to 25's tax return season, get your processes in place while you've still got those pain points really fresh in your mind, and then go home and implement some of them and just have a good chat with everybody and network and a bit of, oh, it's over, thank God for that. Let's hear some funny stories type thing. So if you've not booked in, make sure you get booked in. We will stick some links into the comments. Aaron, have you got a link they can book in on the
I certainly have. Yep. You just
stick that in the comments. So people can book in and get their free seat. It's always a great event. And, it's easy to get to in London. And, hopefully we'll see what we're going to see. They'll announce roughly what they're going to be doing in 2024. Ready for us to see what's going to come up in the year ahead. So that'll be another great event. So Aaron is just going to put that into the comments, folks, so you can book in using the link. And remember,
pre-warning on that one.
You don't have to be a QuickBooks user.
Yeah,
go along. There's so much general advice. Like, the speakers they had on the roadshow, they weren't talking about QuickBooks. Aaron was, but that's Aaron. But everyone, there are people in there talking about social media, personal brands, leading and managing a team, creating sales, etc., etc. Like, there's so much generic information and insights at a QuickBooks Get Connected event that you don't need to be a QuickBooks user to go. It's free, even if you're not a QuickBooks user. We all make mistakes. It's okay. But if you're going to these events, you're going to get so much information, and you're not just going to be sat there for a day being told, use QuickBooks, use QuickBooks, use QuickBooks. And I've been to some of their competitor events where you sit there all day and it's like, use zero, use zero, use zero. Well, zero would have done that to me all day if I hadn't got up and left at 10:30 in the morning thinking it was already a waste of time. So it's a great event. It's very generic. There are specific sessions about QuickBooks, but they are one of 3 or 4 running at the same time. So you can go to the generic sessions if you want. So yeah, don't just think, oh, I'm not a QuickBooks user, or I'm not primarily QuickBooks, so I'm not going to go. It's so valuable, the insight you get from these things. I've taken so many tips and tricks away from these sessions in the past to help me grow my firm to where it is now. So definitely worthwhile doing. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, absolute pleasure to see you all again this week. If you are tuning in on our podcast, which goes live on a Wednesday morning, don't forget that we're live on a Monday morning at 8:30 in the morning on all your favorite social media platforms. And if you've got any questions or anything, stick them in the comments or submit them using the link in the comments, and we'll come back to them ready for the next week. Aaron, apart from tax returns, what you got coming up this week?
What, 1 day, 15 hours, 25 minutes to go? Is that what you mean?
You've wasted an hour on this. Oh dear.
No, for me, it's there's now a whole load of improvements we can make to process and everything else that we found during our January madness. So yeah, we're looking forward to start implementing them. It's my favorite time of the year, to be honest. You kind of reflect back, see what went right, see what went wrong, and start making those changes, because the sooner you can implement them, the better the efficiencies are going to be. So I love February. It's my favorite part of the accounting year, because everyone's in that same mindset of, oh, we made it difficult for ourselves to do X, Y, Z, right? Well, now's your chance to look at it, make some processes, tweak a few things in some of the software you've got, and yeah, it's always the best part. So look forward to it. Can't wait to get stuck in, to be honest. I think that's going to be exciting for everyone. What about yourself, Johann? Anything exciting?
No, I'm very much the same as you. It'll be right. We'll breathe on Thursday. Friday, team get together. What are our pain points? Let's do this while it's fresh in our heads.
Yep.
We'll document those pain points. Might have solutions straight away, or we'll come back to it next week once we've had a bit of a reset and we can think about these things and come up with solutions. Like, we've already got ideas of what we want to change of our setup and stuff. Like, we've got new features available to us now in Client Engager that we didn't have last year. So we didn't have forms, we didn't have the automated emails. So we can do a lot better, more efficient job of collecting information and chasing clients this year than we did last year. So we're already looking at those kind of solutions and improving things. And yeah, that, and just dealing with Client Engagers. Like, 126 trials have gone out so far this month. Like, there's lots of people out there that are not happy with their current solutions, and they're already thinking, how can we change this? How can we make things better? Like, February is the month of trialing new things and testing and setting up new things ready for the year ahead. So yeah, 100%. Crack on 100%. And enjoy it, folks. But yeah, right. Well, on that note, I'll also be sat watching all of the videos that come out over the weekend for Vision Pro. That's not available in the UK, but it is in the US, and I'm not bitter, jealous, or feeling FOMO at all. But hey ho.
One day it'll be us. One day
we'll get our chance. But yeah, okay, folks. Thank you very much, as always, for joining us. It's been absolutely lovely to see you all and to hear from you all in the comments. And we will see you all next week. Roll the credits. Good luck, everyone.
Good luck. You've got this. We're in it together. Cheerio.
All over it, folks.